Buenas noches, Vivian. Gracias por estar en el canal. Bienvenida, es un gusto. Yo quiero empezar preguntándole acerca sobre cómo describiría la evolución de su trabajo en el campo de maquillaje, en especial de dos producciones memorables, Complex of Fear y Midnight Edition, que es impresionante.
Okay, the first question, of course, welcome to the channel, is how will you describe the evolution of your work in the field of makeup, talking about your beginnings in Complex of Fear and Midnight Edition?
How did I get those jobs, or how did I do my stuff with it? Well, these are quite old. Complex of Fear was one of the very first jobs I've ever had. I mean, the very first movie job on my own as a department head. And the leading lady for that, Chelsea Field, is actually still a very close friend of mine. Actually, I just designed some work for her for some theater stuff she was doing. And her husband, I've worked with quite a bit, Scott Bakula, as well. So, and I, we just walking through building a character, like that's kind of how. Let me back up. That's where I found my love. I've done all kinds. To that point, I had dipped my toe into all different kinds of makeup, well enough to know what I'd done. By the time I did Complex of Fear, I'd done thousands of commercials, at least. Years of print work and catalog, and I did theater and opera, and lots of national commercials and big commercials and stuff like that. And there was something missing for me. And I go to do Complex of Fear, and I'm working with Chelsea, and just the little nuances of creating a character and an arc, kind of those little bits that worked with, a human doesn't get up in the morning and go through the day with all things happening to them where there isn't an emotional part of the makeup that begins to change. And, or the fact that it's not supposed to be makeup and therefore the skin is changing and going through this. And so I think I enjoyed that quite a bit. So, Chelsea and I really, became very tight, became very close friends through that process because of working with an actor and what they needed and what I could bring to them. And it was a really good experience for me and kind of like set me to where I wanted to go from that point forward.
When we were talking, I love to see your dog walking around. This beautiful.
To the dog.
Oh, my dog. Oh, yeah. Sorry, my husband's, yes. Yes,
and yes, Jhon, tell me.
Yes, this is my studio. This is, it's not my home. It's a separate thing. It's my studio. And yes, my dogs will wander around and do the things they need to do. One is sitting in my husband's lap, and the other one is wandering around looking for a place to sit. So,
and Jhon told me that I will translate later, so I will let you with Jhon and his question. Jhon, continúa.
Ahí lo más importante, antes de hablar sobre la segunda pregunta, solo es una felicitación. Imagínate que hace poco, sin darme cuenta, vi una película, es una miniserie de TV que se llama, ahí te la dejo, Andrés, que es de Donald Sutherland. Ella contribuyó con el maquillaje. Felicítala antes de la pregunta, que para mí, yo digo que es algo infravalorada esa producción.
This is not a question, this is before the question, like a parenthesis. Jhon said that he wanted to congratulate you for really underrated work that in the oldest living Confederate Widows tells all, a really long name, and he says that he really loves that series with Donald Sutherland, and he want to mention and point out that work, but Jhon continue with another question, but he asked me a favor.
He congratulates you and really appreciates your underrated work, the other work you've done that you haven't been acknowledged for, I believe.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
También está otra producción, tres producciones en una que voy a complementar, es acerca de cómo fue la experiencia de contribuir con todo el departamento del maquillaje por estas producciones. Dark Prince, que es algo sobre la trayectoria de Drácula, del terror, y The Prime Guy, y Tres Instants, que son historias de vida, dramas, que uno dice impresionante.
How was the experience of contributing for the makeup department head of films loved by fans such as Dark Prince, the true story of Dracula. That's why I'm using this t-shirt, by the way. The Prime Jit and Resistance, which has drama and life stories. I think Jhon is asking, yes, how is contributing in different genres, but mostly for these three productions, by the way.
So the different genres that you've done,
Yes.
and you've department headed, but how does that experience? Hopefully I'm not saying this correctly. How is that experience, and how do you approach that as far as different, you have drama, you've got fictional character, you have Vlad the Impaler, you've got Resistance, you've got time periods. And
okay. I mean, first of all, I'm driven by the work. I'm driven by the actual development of characters and the work that needs to be done within the makeup. And so, for instance, Dark Prince, the true story of Dracula. We were in Romania when we filmed that, and it was quite an experience. I mean, I have so many amazing stories, but one of the things that was interesting is, what was that like? That was a long time ago. It's saying 2000, but it was certainly, I think, before then. But anyway, Skin Illustrator was still relatively new. And to ship the amount of Illustrator that I needed into Romania was still quite an ordeal. And Kenny Myers, I remember at the time, made me a palette that I could, put the alcohol in so that I could easily get it in. But having those new makeups that were somewhat new for us to be able to use allowed me to do the things like keep Vlad very pale. And the contrast to keeping him pale was also the fact that all the light was candlelight. So the lighting itself added all the warmth back to his skin, even though we were out taking it out. But it was it was a fascinating process to learn to work within a country. I went by myself. I didn't really have anybody else with me. I shipped, 40 trunks of prosthetics as well. And we had tons of stuff that needed to be done. And it was just like, get in there and get it to work. And I learned a lot about the people. And I had a team working for me, and none of them were makeup artists. And they really didn't know what to do. And I had like vats of dirt and vats of blood. And I would say, guys, decant this. I shipped it in big stuff, and I would like decant it because we're going to separate out into 2 units, and you're going to go, first unit's going, second unit's going. I need you guys to have this. And they would just be like, I would come back at the end of the day and they were still talking. They were not doing anything. Finally, one day I got really mad, and I just demanded that they get it done. And they seemed to do that. Okay. We ended up becoming close friends, my team and I. They said that they'd never had a department head who actually thought that they were part of the team and really expected that. So it ended up being quite a wonderful experience, although there were lots of stuff to be, it was a big, dirty, messy show, and I loved it. And I loved the cast, and I loved the travel, and I loved all the difficult things about it. I thought that was really terrific. And what was the other one? The movie
Resistance. They said Resistance.
Resistance. We shot in went to Amsterdam, and we were in Holland and part of France shooting that. And I think one of my favorite stories, I was on the show because of Julia Ormond. And again, she had quite an arc of a character to be built. And I, again, wanted to add the subtleties of prosthetics. And I don't think that the main team was really understanding of what I wanted to do. I thought that they felt that it was going to be like, big foam pieces that were going to do that. Of course, it wasn't going to be that way. But I remember it's a good story for me. I think it's a great story. So I realized after I got there that Julia was having quite the entourage. I mean, she had like a chef, and she had a trainer, and she had the assistant, and then she had me. And then, then there was a hairstylist. There's a ton of people. And so the first day we walked to set, and then we got behind, we're going to set. And I realized I didn't really like being a part of an entourage. So I kind of hung back and pretended that I wasn't a part of the entourage because I was embarrassed, right? And we get to set, and Julia does her first performance, and literally you could hear a pin drop. She was so amazing. It was so fantastic. Bill Paxton was like, oh my God, the director, everyone, the entire crew, eyes bugged out. And then I was like, I'm with her. I'm a part of this entourage. I was so proud. It was so funny. But she was so good in the little subtleties that we brought through, and she was so committed to the role. But again, it goes back to my passion for what those subtleties are. And that is why I ended up getting to do a lot of prosthetics for women, because prosthetics for women is not the same as prosthetics for men. And they have to be very, very subtle. And I've had really, really great makeup artists, amazing makeup artists, sculpt some pieces for me, only for me to resculpt them. And it's not that they're not good, but it's just, you just can't go quite that far. You know, woman's face is quite different. But I think for my career and everything that has driven me, it has not been the film or the genre of the movie. It has been the opportunity that has come across to create a character and have the audience follow this character in a way that they are never taken out of the movie, and they follow through with what the story is going to say. So for me as an artist, it's not to get their praise. It's to actually effectively do that in a way that no one really knows that there was makeup. So in a way, no one thinks about what I did. It's kind of the highest praise, you know? And so I think that some of the films that I think that I've loved my work the most, you're right, people don't talk about it the most. And I think, you know, because the subtlety of the work there was powerful enough, but it was believable. So you're not like, oh, that's a really great prosthetic they did. You know, wow, that's a really great, because it is meant to just feel like it really happened.
And that's why I love what Jhon does, because he always asks about the little projects or the projects that get under the radar. So, kudos.
Antes de continuar con la tercera pregunta, debo yo agradecerte, Andrés, porque está una película que tú mencionaste mucho antes, 21 gramos. Ella fue la maquilladora de Benicio del Toro. Así que 21 gramos es fascinante. Solo debo decir, y todo este tema, felicítela sobre eso. Y si tiene una anécdota, buenísimo.
I'm happy that Jhon mentioned this movie because I keep years and years recommending it. You were the makeup from Benicio del Toro, 21 grams. I met Guillermo Arriaga here in my city, and you also work it here. So if you got an anecdote about, it's my favorite movie, by the way, I need to tell it. So go ahead.
It's his favorite movie, 21 grams.
21 grams is great. It's devastating, isn't it? I remember when, you know, my friend was department heading it, and she needed someone to do Benicio and to handle him. And so she was like, would you please come in and help? And of course, I was happy to do so. I was on another show, so I think I was a couple of days late coming in, but just breaking that script down. You know, the script is kind of like you write scenes, you wrote the scenes, you cut them all out, tossed them on the floor, and the movie was in order for however they happened to be picked up, including if the dog picked them up. There was no sense. So to create an accurate arc for that movie was quite an ordeal in how you broke it down. And so I was working a program that I was having written for me and breaking down a script and how the script would work. And we ended up developing a way to do a chronological order. And it came from the computer part of what I did. So I added that within part of it. So I had the script of how you would see it. And then I had the chronological order, so we knew exactly what was happening in its way. And it became super important to it. But, you know, I think one of the biggest things, and again, you know, there's always great stories for the movie. There's, you know, Alejandro, and who I think is amazing, by the way. And I almost got a chance to work with him, but I wasn't quite available, and I'm so sorry that I missed it. But so we had this thing to do on Benicio. I think you'll see it. He had this tattoo, and at first he was supposed to carve it off. The script was having him carve it off, and Benicio's like, I would never live if I carved it off. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that part of the movie. And so no one was talking about it, and no one was doing anything. And finally I was like, well, I have to do something, you know, like I have to do something. So I got the live cast of Benicio's arm in. He was in LA shooting something else, like coming back and forth, get a live cast of his arm, send that to me. So I'm in the trailer. I have to get the trailer guys to level the trailer. I'm sculpting this piece that I'm going to put on his arm with the tattoo. And I have this idea that we're going to burn that tattoo off. And so that was my presentation. So I didn't have clamps. I didn't have anything. I literally was like, and I poured it out of gelatin because I needed it to be gelatin so that we could burn it. So I would build the piece. I wasn't punching hair at the time because we didn't have that, and it wasn't what it is. I built the piece, had several layers of colors, added the tattoo, had to add another skin on top of that, and still make sure that Benicio could burn it without burning himself. And so to even get the piece together, I would get ready to pour the piece, and I'd get the biggest teamsters outside that I could get, the guys that were the heaviest. And when it was time to pour it, I'd get in and sit on the sculpt so I could sculpt, squish it all out. Anyway, so I went to Alejandro, the director, and I was like, listen, I have this idea. I really don't think we should cut it. It's not going to quite work. And, I'd like to show it to you. And I showed him a little test that I had done in the trailer. And he goes, we are going to do a normal test. And I want you to know that I am going to do 6 cameras and there's going to be no cuts and it's going to be macro. I was like, this is exactly what we did. So it was fantastic. Benicio had everything. I think he could have pushed a little bit further on that. So anyway, we finished the film. I'm going to a screening, and it's a personal, it's for the crew. Alejandro's there, and I walk out of the theater, and he grabs me and he goes, "Did you see? It looked amazing. It looked amazing. Oh my God, it worked. I'm so proud." So it was really fun. We had a way, and he did. He shot it with multiple cameras. Rodrigo Preta shot it. He shot it with multiple cameras, and so we could get it in every angle. And there were no cuts, and it was what it was. It was all happened on action. So we didn't have to do anything. I put the piece on. He burned through the tattoo into red skin. You could see all of that kind of go. So, and then poured water on it, his booze or whatever he was drinking at the time on it. So that was kind of a thing for that particular movie. So it was kind of the biggest thing to, walk in and just decide that I needed to take over something because no one else was doing it, and make it work. I'm glad it worked for me, and I'm glad Alejandro liked it.
Before I let Jhon talk, I could never imagine in my wildest dreams that you describe that scene, because that scene came in my mind the same year that the movie got premiered, so a lot of years. And I show you, this is the picture with Guillermo Arriaga, the screenwriter, and I'm happy that I'm talking to you. Oh my God. Now I love it more than the movie, because that scene did me. It's my favorite movie. And thank you, Jhon. Continue.
Esta impresionante duda, sí, muy buena. Su experiencia acerca de ganar el Oscar por Bombshell, y pues un mensaje a las futuras generaciones que comienzan el tema tanto del make-up.
I'm happy that you mentioned this movie because I watched it on the video screen, and yeah, it's the Oscar that you won from Bombshell. So anything you want to give us about this movie, that Oscar so deserved, and of course, I love this question from Jhon. He said that give a message to future generations, starting in makeup and hairdressing. And congratulations for that Oscar, by the way. And I freaking love Bombshell.
Anything you want to say to them about Bombshell? That's amazing.
Well, Bombshell was wonderful. Our director, oh my God, I thought he was fantastic. It was so well put together. There's always great stories with it. If you want to hear my stories, I will tell you. I love Bombshell. It was an honor to work on it. I happened to be overseas doing another film when I get and I found myself in a situation where I had quite a number of offers for jobs, the things that you think are supposed to be the amazing thing that happened in your life. And then as it would turn out, they all evaporated overnight. They all evaporated. I'm like, how did I have all of this? They all evaporated. It had nothing to do with me. Then I get a text through social media from Kazu asking me if I wanted to do this movie, Bombshell. And of course, any opportunity to work with Kazu, I can't believe he's asking me, but I'm glad. But I understand, I do women and I do prosthetics, so that's quite my thing. So when we started, they were like, okay. Kazu's like, and the producers are like, well, Charlize is going to do her own makeup. Kazu will do the prosthetic. Charlize's going to do her makeup. And I said, good. And then they're like, and Nicole's going to bring in her own team, so you won't be doing her. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, and maybe you'll do Margot Robbie. And I was like, I kind of would like to do somebody. So anyways, it turns out Margot Robbie ended up asking me as her personal to do her makeup. And I thought that was terrific. And then a few days later, Nicole Kidman comes and says, I want Vivian to do the prosthetics. And I was like, okay, I mean, I'm going to run the department. I have plenty to do. So don't get me wrong. And then I get a message from Nicole that she wants me to also do the prosthetics and the normal makeup. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So, getting all this to beginning to do tests, Kazu's getting the stuff together. We're going to be doing the test. We do a test. We do a test on Nicole. We do the test. And I think Charlize had done her own, and Margaret really didn't have that. So we do the test, and Nicole's like, I love it. It's fantastic. So excited to work with you. I'm like, terrific. I'm in. Woo, I'm in. I got it. I got the movie. I'm going to be doing Margaret. I'm going to be doing Nicole. I'm so excited. They're both amazing, amazing women. And then I passed by the producer's office one day before we began, and I was like, hi. And he goes, oh, did I tell you? And I'm like, tell me what. He goes, you're going to be doing Charlize. And I said, oh, no. You got to get someone else. I'm sorry. I can't run the department with all the other prosthetics that I have on the department and all the characters and all the period we have to do, doing 2 of these leading ladies, including the prosthetics of that, and do Charlize. I can't do that. He goes, so you don't understand. You're going to be doing Charlize. We'll get someone else for them. And I'm like, oh, no. You can't take that away from me. So as it turned out, I would end up doing Charlize, and I would end up doing Nicole, and I ended up doing Margot. But what we had to do with Nicole is when they scheduled it, so there were times where all the ladies worked. It was not possible. So that the producers rearranged the schedule so that Nicole and Charlize didn't work at the same time in the beginning. And then when Bill Corso was available, we brought in Billy to handle Nicole, since they had worked together before in the past. But, I started her, I designed her, I got it done. But it was one of those things where it was like, a very interesting movie. But, yeah, I thought it was amazing. I think, Kazu is a genius. I mean, his work is so beautifully refined, and it's so incredible, beautiful, so beautiful. And that those prosthetics, unlike many prosthetics that actually create the character, once the prosthetics come on and they need the kiss of paint, this one needed the paint. It needed the paint on top of it. So he kind of had to take her from Charlize and turn her into Megan. And then we had to make her the Megan that you know. So, and Charlize is a fantastic actress. So of course it all worked out. And, I was so honored to be a part of it. And I never, ever, ever thought one thought about that it would ever win an award. And I probably should have, knowing that it was working with Kazu, but I did not. So I was very honored to be a part of it. I had a fantastic team of people. And it was like the first movie that I had done in Los Angeles in like 10 years. So it was pretty awesome.
And Google had thought that movie also became like a cultural movement. I mean, I think it's the big Me Too movie. And Google had thought, no? That, wow. I remember that day going to the movies, watch.
Yeah. It's one of the first movies, in my opinion, and why it's one of the first movies where a woman was transformed in such a subtle way that was so dramatic, and having prosthetics on women that was subtle enough and that really worked. And so that, to me, it was a really marker and very personal for me, because it had been the road that I'd been traveling on. So it was very much an honor for me to be requested by Kazu to come in and be a part of it, because I don't know that anybody really knew that was in my heart. You know what I mean? That it's like, we can transform women. It just has to be subtle. Like, subtle pieces do a lot on a woman, and subtle pieces are really difficult to put on. Like, you get a really, really soft edge, you get a really, really tiny piece, and and you try to get those on a woman. I mean, first of all, they'll just collapse. Like, even holding them up, trying to get them on, they're really, really difficult to do. So it was an honor for me to be a part of that.
Like they always say, I compare you with another amazing artist that for music, that is Björk. When she do that tiny piece of music, it's like filigrane. And filigrane is a really great art. It's like doing filigrane. Yes?
It's like doing very delicate art.
Yes. Yes. Okay. My husband helps, but sometimes my translation is bad. I have I've had since I was born a little bit of a eustachian tube dysfunction. So it's always, sometimes I miss stuff, and he's really good at it. So I keep him around. Thank you.
bueno, espero alcanzar el tiempo, vamos a hacer su experiencia en el maestro y cómo define su trabajo en una palabra.
And I know time is running off, but John wanna know anything. I hope this show gets longer. About anything working in Bradley Cooper, Maestro, and so anything about that beautiful piece of movie. I mean, it's another big movie that I feel that is so delicate with little touches. So tell us about working in Maestro.
I mean, again, Kazu had called and asked if I would be a part of it. I had to somewhat clear my schedule to make that happen. And I went up, and it was going to be Mike Fontaine and myself would be doing the makeup on Bradley. But Bradley had been working with Kazu for a couple of years. And I knew that because when I was doing some of the reshoots with Bombshell, I was speaking to his hairstylist who had been with it, and they were trying to look for the right makeup team. And she spoke to me, and I'm like, well, the makeup artists, the makeup teams that you're looking at are so good, but this really isn't their level. He should probably look at Kazu, which of course he did. So she took that recommendation for him, and he looked at Kazu, and Kazu had been working for a couple of years. And so when it came down to it, there was Kazu decided to come, and that's not like him to always do that. I mean, to actually come away, and then he decided that he would be a part of the makeup. So now we're kind of in a place where it's like, we have a lot of makeup artists here, and now Kazu's going to do it. So in the process, I ended up having a conversation with Kazu about it, and he was like, "Man, this is my dream job," and I said, "Okay, then this is what I'll do. I will do everything I can do to help you do that makeup." Because you can do it by yourself. I'm here. My job will be save every second, do everything, watch the set, take it off. You do it. You do it. I mean, you've been with it. He loves you. This is your dream. And I got an opportunity to every day, 60 something days, be in the trailer and watch Kazu put this makeup on. I mean, when he was in The Big Man, of course, we had to have our makeup artist. And yes, I was putting on prosthetics, just putting on the arms and stuff like that. But the goal was, and, I look back at it and I think it actually really meant a lot to me, because artists have these careers that we've worked on. We have these dreams of things that we've done, and we find ourselves, and we're always, I had an opportunity to honor an artist like Kazu, to say, do the work. How can I serve you? I went there, and my job was to do the makeup. And I had the opportunity to suggest that maybe I don't, maybe you do. And how can I help you do it? Because this is your dream job. And, I think that this is how artists should treat other artists. It was an honor for me to do that. And I'm very glad that I did. So if, yes, I was in the room. I saw the greats work. I saw what Bradley did. I covered the set. I know the makeup intimately, but I can't take one single credit for any of it. And I think if you notice, when all the awards are around, you never heard a word from me, nor the rest of the team, because it was all Kazu. We wanted to give him the credit where credit deserved. There is always a team behind it. And like I said, on The Big Guy, there were a few more of us. But at the end of the day, if you really consider what someone does, it's bravo. So I'm happy to give a hand to a magnificent artist who did that work. And I'm honored that I was there to be that. And I have to say, it really felt amazing to take that step back from someone who has always led the charge or been with the main person, and to take that step back and put on a servant's hat and serve. And I considered it quite the honor. So I can't take much credit for Maestro, but I'm glad I was there.
First, I was like, is that Bradley? Because he really looked. First, it's kind of resembled like the actor Eric Roberts, but when I saw the pictures of Leonard Bernstein, of course I know the music, but I never seen him. It was amazing. That job is not Bradley. Amazing.
Amazing. It was amazing. And I'm going to tell you something. They didn't fix anything. It was that tight walking out of the trailer every single day. I mean, I'm glad that I was there. So if there was anything I needed to look for, I knew exactly what to zone in on, but he was covered and the makeup was tight and it was beautiful and it lasted through everything. And Bradley could move and do everything he needed to do. I mean, it was a brilliant brilliant makeup. And I'm actually surprised it didn't make Oscar, but the makeup was brilliant nonetheless. It always will be.
Y por último, ¿cómo define su trabajo en una palabra? Y bueno, toda la invitación del website.
I know we will get time for the final picture, but no, the question that Jhon always does, and I want to hear you because I really love you listening to talking about your work. How do you define your career, your work in one word? And the camera is yours, so you can send a big hi to Colombia, to wherever you want, invite people to your website. Go ahead.
How would you define your career in one word? And whatever you want to say about yourself, you could invite people to look at your website or whatever else you want to add in there. So define your career in one word.
Blessed. And I define that by not lucky. It's not lucky. I'm blessed. Because you have to be ready. When opportunity comes to your door, you have to be brave enough to do it afraid, and you have to step into it and do it. So the skills have to be things that you work on. And I think that I'm blessed, and I think that I've spent my career doing a lot of things afraid and realizing, and having a good time doing it. Yes. I mean, I love every aspect of makeup artistry, and I've had the joy of doing more than just film and TV, although that's been the bulk of my work. And I think that it's all fabulous. I think one of the biggest contributions that hopefully will live on beyond me is my passion for light, for makeup artistry that I brought through my husband's company, The Makeup Light. And it is something that I have brought to the world of makeup artistry because we never really had it. We never had light that helped. And so from a beauty makeup artist that did prosthetics, and hand has always been to be super, super natural. Being able to see in the trailer was a big deal. There's a lot of science behind that light and lux and CRI and color temperatures, and color temperature is just the beginning, but there's a lot that goes around it. And so I'm super proud that for something that I wanted, my husband began a business, made it for me. It turned into a business. No one was trying to turn it into a business. And I feel like that's a legacy, because it is a visual art. And I have found that makeup artists many times paint from their head, because we've learned if I do this and I do this and I do this and this is the right base color and do this, and we paint from our head and we forget to see. And there's something most amazing about being able to trust your eye and paint from the eye to see, actually see. And that part, when the cast sees you seeing and you see and art happens, there's the crack. There's what we dip into, that once we get started and we have that moment of creativity in our lives, that we will keep chasing it forever and ever, because creativity is really divine. It's such a divine process. So that's what I'd say about my career. I'm very blessed. Yeah, my website's my name, vivianbaker.com, www.vivianbaker.com. VIVIANBAKER. I just kind of redid it, but only to make it very simple. So yeah, I mean, if you need to send me an email, there's a way to do that on my website. Yeah.
I want to say something before the time ends, because
bring me to Brazil and work. I want to go to Brazil and do a movie.
We're not in Brazil, we're in Colombia, but I want to go to Brazil, to go Latin America, South America with you. Wow. You are amazing. But I want to tell you something, because I was saying, I was like a little seed. I saw that I cannot be here, and I'm here. When you mentioned the opera, I remember where a teacher told me that opera from him is like the biggest form of art. And I remember that he told me that it's like the biggest form of art because he got theater, but he got music. And now that you mentioned that you're working on opera, and that side of the opera that is the makeup, makes me appreciate more the opera, your work. That word, like you say, is science, but it's art. No, I want to tell you, and two, I need to tell you, you resemble like one of my best friends of childhood. It's called Claudia. You are identical. So she's my friend. No, Vivian, for me, it's a big thank you. I'm happy, sorry if we are a little bit stuttered, Jhon and myself, but thank you, and thank you to your husband. He's an amazing person, beautiful. Well, you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to come. I'm so glad that I had a chance to share some things with you, and lovely to see you both. And let me know if you need anything. And I would love to get down. I've not worked in South America. I've worked in almost every other continent but South America. So I think I need to go. So hopefully there'll be an opportunity.
I need that Jhon became huge, and I will tell to bring you to South America, Colombia, Brasil, Venezuela. Jhon, tienes que volverte rico y traer a Vivian. El sueño ya es trabajar en Brasil. Tráela acá a Brasil, a Venezuela, a todos lados, por favor, Jhon.
Increíble. Vivian, muchas gracias por la oportunidad. God bless you. Great week. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye, both of you.